Katie, I want you to stand by for us. We're going to come back to you. But in the meantime, we wanted to get to some of our tweets, Joe, because people perhaps near the scene or who know more than we're able to get from their vantage point, we want to share with you what they've been saying. So let's put up some of our tweets and read them to you to give you another idea of exactly what's going on, perhaps giving us some more insight into exactly how things are playing here. If you could put that up on the big board so we can read it, thank you so much. Joe, why don't you take the first one from John Brush there?
It says, no one has heard any actual shooting on Senate side. I'm told by two Hill sources, but U.S. Capitol Police are still checking. Tense situation at Russell Senate office building today as officers telling staff to stay in their offices. Senate is on recess, so no members there, but plenty of staff are still working through August, so waiting on more updates.
And then Capitol Police tweeting this: if you're inside the Senate buildings, everyone inside should be sheltering in place, as the report was for a possible active shooter. Or Katie Barlow has been very specific and let us know this is a possible active shooter. It should be noted that we do not have any confirmed reports of gunshots. That is what U.S. Capitol Police is saying right now. Of course, the tweets keep coming in. Our assignment desk has been working this since we got reports of it. They continue to gather information as well for us. But as you can see from the top left hand of the corner there was a live picture, an emergency response, a very big emergency response on the scene. But what I find curious, and Katie pointed this out, Joe, was that people are still allowed in the perimeter of the Capitol building and the Senate building to move around pretty freely, it would appear.
But let's think about this, that where you see the people being evacuated is on the other side. That's Pennsylvania Avenue. That's not Constitution Avenue, if I'm correct, right? That's going up Pennsylvania. So where Katie was situated was on the other side of the Capitol. And it looks to me like you see how this street is all clear here, and that's on the other side. You see those people are on the Capitol grounds. Gotcha.
All right, so we're being told that Capitol Police will be speaking at any minute. Until they do that, of course, we'll continue update you on the scene. As you know, whenever these emergency situations play out on Capitol Hill, there is a protocol in place in which staffers know exactly what to do in terms of sheltering in place, where to go, and how they're to conduct themselves, especially coming to light after January 6th, when there was some concern about if there is an emergency, how does this play out? How do we keep ourselves safe? In the wake of that, some emergency rules were instituted that further define what they're supposed to do in active shooting and other situations like this. So hopefully we're seeing that play out, and hopefully that's why we're seeing that there isn't perhaps any confirmed violence that we can talk to about now. But we want to go back to Katie Barlow, who is there on the scene. She is gathering firsthand information. Katie, what do you have now?
We just saw a tweet from Fox News' Chad Pergram, who covers Capitol Hill, saying an update on all Senate buildings, that folks are supposed to move inside their office to the nearest office and take emergency equipment and visitors. I also saw from a couple of other reporters who were on the Hill that this is a possible internal threat. Again, we're still waiting on further details from Capitol Police. I'm still hearing folks who are blowing their whistles. A police officer is down on the corner of First and Constitution blowing a whistle, directing some traffic, but I can see there's foot traffic on the Capitol side of Constitution. People who are wearing their backpacks and appear, you know, they could be staffers or tourists. It looks like they're in a full suit. So people are permitted to walk. I hear another siren that seems to be coming toward the Capitol, but no additional details. There are still parked emergency vehicles along Constitution Avenue, and I can tell you the barricades are still up, so cars are not permitted to go up Constitution Avenue between the Capitol and those 3 Senate office buildings.
Katie, I'm curious, do you see D.C. police on scene? I know they often assist Capitol Police in situations like this. Are they currently also helping out, or is it just Capitol Police responding to this emergency situation right now?
I see, actually, at one end of Pennsylvania Avenue right now, I see a D.C. police car that has blocked off cars coming even closer to the Capitol, and I see a Secret Service police car that is behind the barricade between the Capitol and the Senate office building. So there's at least one D.C. MPD police car that is being used to block some car traffic along Constitution Avenue, and at the other end, there is a Secret Service vehicle. It's hard to identify identify the any of the further.
Right.
There have been some unmarked police cars that have moved up past the barricades as well that don't have any identifying markers at this point. But I do see it appears that MPD is assisting.
All right, Katie, you know what gives me some pause, we've covered a lot of these, unfortunately, breaking news situations on the Hill, where we've had active shooters and other emergency issues popping up. I don't see the huge amount of response. Clearly, there is a response, but I don't see a huge amount of response as we've seen in the past. Is that, to you, any indication that this may not be rising to the level of a threat that perhaps we thought initially? And again, I don't want to minimize what's happening there, because clearly something is going on. There is concern. But from our experience here in this market covering the Hill in emergencies like this, we've seen bigger responses when there seemed to be a greater threat. What would you say to that, Katie?
Well, I'll say that I called our news desk as soon as I counted the 12 police cars that were moving quickly up Constitution Avenue. That was about 2:45 p.m. I will say that is a bit atypical, with sirens blaring, moving quickly up Constitution Avenue in the middle of the afternoon on a Wednesday. And you know what? We were just in this position about 1 month ago on the final day of opinions at the Supreme Court,
right.
The final week of opinions. There was an unidentified package on the steps of the Supreme Court that had us clear First Street, which you can see just at the top of the hill here, where Constitution runs into First Street, where the Supreme Court is, for hours just to clear a package. So again, as you point out, this is something that they're no stranger to, identifying potential threats around these, of course, very popular buildings, and being able to mitigate those threats and run down an investigation. The most recent tweet that we have from Capitol Police from just a few seconds ago is that there will be a media staging location located at First and Constitution Avenue Northwest, and that a public information officer will give an update as they continue to investigate. So there is appearing to be an ongoing investigation by U.S. Capitol Police, but we'll get an update from a press officer shortly. And again, I can see one individual who's crossing the grass in front of the Capitol right now, and I see not as I still see a few folks who appear to be tourists kind of walking around. You know, folks still seem to be freely able to traverse.
Yeah. We'll have to make with that what we will, because that is a little atypical, especially if it is something as to the severity of an active shooter situation. But again, I'm not minimizing what's happening, because clearly there is concern there, given what's happening in the news, given the tension that we have in this country right now. It's not to be taken lightly that something clearly is happening. We are expecting Capitol Police to give us some sort of word soon, so we'll be hanging tight with that to see what's happening. Our assignment desk, you see behind us, they've been hard at work continuing to gather information. We do have tweets coming in, and again, we want to share with you from folks who've been there, who are getting direct information what's happening. Let's put that up for you again so you can see and again feel what we are hearing and seeing. The video, folks walking with their hands up. This gives you again the indication of what we're seeing there and the Capitol perimeter as the Senate building is locked down. And Jake Sherman tweeting, people are being evacuated from Senate office buildings with their hands up. Go ahead, Joe. You were saying?
I was just saying, they're walking out with their hands up, but the tourists are still just walking around with their backpacks.
It is
and so on and so forth. But it looks like to me like the, because of January 6th and because of what's gone on at the Capitol in these last couple of years, that they kind of have it down to a science, sort of, so they don't care about what the outside people are doing. Let's take care of this. It is
very much so, right?
But it is very alarming. But you notice that they stopped Constitution Hall, they stopped Pennsylvania Avenue, they put the barricades up. I've never seen that done in my many years of being here in Washington, D.C. I remember when they put those in the ground. So that is alarming to me. But at the same time, it looks like Capitol Police are doing what has been put in place after January 6th.
And Joe, I want to point this out. Our assignment desk, I said to you, working this very feverishly. They've been at it. They just talked to Capitol Police asking, has the situation been resolved? We've been told emphatically, no, the situation has not been resolved. So very much so, they are treating this as a possible active shooter situation, which is why you're still seeing that police presence. As I pointed out earlier, it may not be as big as some that we've seen in the past, but clearly there is lots of concern. People walking out with their hands up. The Senate office building put into a shelter-in-place situation as a result of this. Keep in mind that this comes on the heels of President Trump being indicted.
Now let's get to the other part.
Right.
Yes.
And he is expected in court tomorrow. So there hasn't been a direct link made to whether that is what is for this this, but you have to say in D.C., with all of these political things happening and tensions high, certainly it's not unheard of that we would see something like this playing out. But again, we don't want to make that direct link. We're simply saying that this is what's happening in the news.